Hi, everybody. We are the Ninja Legion, and I'd like to welcome you to a new segment called Previously On. In this show, we're basically going to cover all our nerdy favorite TV shows, such as Doctor Who, Sherlock. And this week, actually, we're going to be covering the two new shows and the new season of Arrow, Flash, and Gotham. So, I'm the captain.
I'm Spider.
I'm Naptime.
Naptime is new with us, so let's all be nice to him at least for 1 week, if we could. You guys want to jump right into it?
Yeah.
Why not? I want to talk about Flash first.
Okay. Yeah, we had the season premiere of Flash, spinning off from Arrow.
Last Tuesday.
Yep, it was this Tuesday. There's Tuesday at 9 or 8.
8.
Tuesdays at 8.
I don't get to watch them when they come on because I'm usually doing something else. But
It's Eastern Standard Time, by the way.
Yeah.
8 o'clock, and doesn't it conflict with Sons of Anarchy?
No, Sons comes on at 10.
At 10, that's right.
Sons is a whole other show that
yeah.
we'll be getting into because it's just a wonderful piece of garbage.
Yeah, I got this.
It's just filthy, awful, just wonderfulness. But anyway, Flash.
yeah.
I'm gonna ask first immediate reaction, one word. What did you think? We'll delve into it later, but one word reaction.
Promising?
Bourgeois.
I'm actually gonna agree with Spider and say promising.
I liked it. I obviously it was the recap of what happened in Arrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, they showed the whole sequence of events with Barry Allen and the Star Labs explosion of their what were they calling that?
They call it a particle accelerator.
Particle accelerator,
that's
yeah.
right. Okay,
It's like a hadron collider.
That's what I keep thinking, Hadron Collider.
Yeah.
I thought that they were pretty accurate with their retelling of the Flash mythos, but the real Flash mythos obviously differed.
Right.
Yeah.
But I give them an A for effort. Special effects were good.
Yeah.
Especially being a show on the CW, which has never really been known for high dollar CG.
No, I mean, look at Smallville.
Yeah. And the thing is, and I enjoyed Smallville for the good 4 or 5 seasons.
10.
Well, no, that's how long I
okay.
enjoyed it.
As much of it that you
It was
enjoyed,
4
yeah.
or 5 seasons.
I stuck with it through 10.
Oh, you poor man.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I thought it was pretty well done. I mean, granted, all these new shows and movies and whatnot all take liberty with backstories, and
Yeah.
you're just not going to get away from that. And I'm okay with it to a certain extent. Just as long as the Flash and Barry Allen doesn't show up and he's from Mars, apparently. As long as something like that doesn't happen. I
Yeah,
don't
something
care.
dramatic shift in the character backstory.
Yeah.
Well, what I felt was particularly interesting with Flash was the fact that they actually showed Professor Zoom.
Yeah.
Oh, with the
in
death
the
of
scene where the
Nora
was dispatched.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting, and because typically you don't hear about that character until you
Later.
get more familiar with the Flash.
Right. We actually had a pretty good discussion on Facebook about it on one of his statuses. Basically, we saw Reverse Flash in the very beginning of the show.
Right.
Yeah.
And we started talking about the DC animated adventure,
Flashpoint Paradox.
which is phenomenal.
Yeah,
If you haven't
it's
seen-
great.
One of the best
Yeah.
ones I've ever
So
seen.
if you haven't seen it, please just go buy it. It's worth it. You'll watch it 100 times. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good. But DC always does good with their animated stuff.
You know what?
They really do.
Not to digress, but the thing in the Flashpoint Paradox animated feature that was not shown, that is in the actual comic series, is the sequence of events that led Aquaman against Wonder Woman.
Right.
So, again, not to digress from the Flash.
But
That could be a separate show right
Yeah.
there.
Right.
There, then and there.
there's more to the story.
Quite a bit.
Oh,
Do it, yeah.
Much more.
And that's always going to happen with that. They can only cram so much into their little short movie. But I guess going back to the top of the show, one of the cool things that I really liked is they did a good job of setting up villains for it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, like Professor Zoom or Reverse Flash, whichever and they've already had some on-set photos shown of him in the Reverse Flash costume and everything with that. I'm curious to see where they're going to actually go with it. If they're going to keep it the same character, or if they're going to change a little bit of that.
I don't know. Maybe
Because, well, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything. They sort of imply somebody being Reverse Flash, but that's not the person it is in the comics.
No.
So,
That's,
but the character who it is in the comics is also in the show.
and that's what I take issue with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a little weird to me as well.
Yeah, that's what Kirk and I were discussing on the Facebook post. It just, as a traditionalist of DC stories,
Yeah.
to take a character, give him or her, for that matter, an entirely new role,
Yes.
and use the same, as close to the same name as you can.
Yeah.
As Kirk and I talked about, in the comics, Professor Zoom's name is Eobard Thawne, and he's from the 25th century.
Yes.
He's not a cop in the present day
No.
named Eddie. So I don't quite understand, how that works. How they were able to just shift that.
Well, before we get too far into how the show differs from the comics or even the animated series, I'd like to look at it as, how did you like it as a television show? How did you like the casting that was done? How did you like, we already said we all enjoyed the special effects for it, but like, what do you think of the cast so far? I don't remember the guy's name, but the guy
Grant
playing,
Gustin.
Yeah, Grant Gustin.
what do you think of him as being Barry Allen?
I mean, I think he works, and I like the way he's portrayed him so far. To be honest, I've never read a Flash comic in my life.
Oh, okay.
So I've never been a huge DC person. I've only just recently started kind of branching into DC. I've never read a Flash comic book ever.
Really?
Yeah, ever.
I thought I liked you.
Hey, at least I'll admit it. I'm not going to try pretending like I know what I'm talking about when it comes to Flash comics. I know a little bit about the character, but I haven't read any of the comics.
I think it looks like it's going to be, again, like Spider said, promising. We are going to have, much like we do in Arrow, a very much an overacting police figure. And, God, I can't remember his name
Jesse
now.
Martin.
Thank you. He's going to play very much the same role as Laurel's dad does in Arrow, where he is going to be the overprotective father figure of everybody around.
But he seems to have a more level head. Just in that one show, he seems to not be so impulsive. And,
Yeah, he's not as angry. It doesn't seem like he's as angry as Captain Lance.
Well, the thing is, though, except for when he completely goes off on Barry about, forget it, your father killed your mother, let it go, you're being an idiot for thinking otherwise.
Yeah, that was really, really vicious.
It was. It was kind of brutal. I felt bad for the character, especially because we all know that Barry's right.
Right.
Well, and I mean, that's one of the things, though. Like when you're someone running around talking about like a mysterious yellow blur, when you spend your whole life talking about this basically an unexplainable phenomenon that no one else has ever witnessed, you're gonna sound a little crazy.
Well, the one thing that kind of bugged me, and it's the same thing they mentioned in Flashpoint, was Barry got taken blocks away from the house, and they never even pointed that out in the show.
Well, they did show it in the show.
They showed it, but no one acknowledged it.
No one acknowledged it.
That like he came running back to the scene.
Yeah,
like,
he's in his pajamas and he's running from 10 streets away.
Right.
Yeah.
It was something like 11 blocks away, and the thing with the whole mother, they were kind of soft with it, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah.
Considering what they could have done with it. The father gets arrested. There really didn't seem to be any due process either with that whole thing.
Not really, no.
He's arrested. He's in jail. Well, she's dead. You were there. Who else could have done it? We don't need any more evidence.
Right.
Forget the fact that all the windows in the living room are shattered. Who knows where it came from? He had to have done it.
Somehow, after you killed your wife, you not only destroyed your home, you threw your kid 10 blocks from here.
Yeah.
And never left the premises.
You're under arrest. I didn't get that. Getting back to your question about the star of the show, I'm not sure I would have picked someone like that. I would have picked someone with blonde hair.
Yeah.
Because Barry Allen has blonde hair, and I think if you're going to deviate from a lot of things in a comic book, you don't deviate from the central character.
I can kind of understand that, but that's almost the same thing as like, well, are you mad that Iris is black? Because I mean that's the same.
That up.
That's the same sort of thing, though. That's not what the character looked like in the comics. Like she was white in the comics,
right?
But
everyone's white in the comics except for
but at the same time, like, is hair color that big of a deal?
It is. It is when you've read as many comics as I have. So you, by your own admission, you haven't read any.
I haven't read a Flash
Right?
comic,
You
but
haven't read a Flash comic. So,
but as long as they get the actual character, the elements of his personality, and the way that he behaves correctly, hair color seems like such a negligible thing.
I don't think that's how he behaved either.
No,
You know, the Flash comics and the Flash animations that I've seen, he doesn't act like some.
he's not
clumsy-
he's not a bumbling idiot.
Yeah.
Well, he's
Yeah.
not idiot, but just like a very clumsy, genius. in this
Yeah,
case.
yeah.
Right.
I guess he's a little.
supposed to be
He is a little awkward.
He's supposed to be a smartass.
Right.
He's supposed to be kind of a playboy.
Yeah, he's a counterpart to Ray Palmer. You know,
Right.
Ray Palmer was a scientist and you know was working on atomic structures and how mankind could benefit from them. And you know, Barry Allen was basically the same thing, except he was doing it with chemicals. And you know, as a police scientist, I don't even
Yeah.
think he was a CSI for that matter.
They did say crime scene investigator, I believe.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
crimes. Well, it wasn't a crime scene investigator. It was something of the sort. But
In
Yeah.
Arrow, he identifies himself as Central City CSI.
Yeah.
So,
but even still, it's still not the original backstory. But again,
right. So yeah,
Small
deviations I
liberties
can
are-
handle.
Yeah.
And no, I don't have a problem with the Iris West being black.
Yeah.
Or the fact that I don't even remember in the Flash comics that the father was present. Period.
Yeah.
You know, so here's Barry Allen suddenly he knows his father. Yeah, that doesn't even bother me that much.
I think part of that too is that they wanted to get John Wesley Shipp, I think is his name, the guy who played
The original
Flash
Flash
in the
in-
old
yeah,
TV
in the
show,
90s, yeah.
and he's the guy who played his father in the
Right.
in the pilot.
Right.
Yeah, I think it might have been just because they wanted to throw him in there.
Yeah.
I guess just we'll make a role for you.
That was
Yeah.
kind of an honor.
yeah,
You
no,
know,
Yeah.
I think it's awesome actually. I
Yeah,
really
if you
do.
think about it, because for those of us who have seen that original series, which wasn't that bad,
I haven't.
They did, yeah.
the
Before my
running
time.
and the speed force that they displayed in that series was the camera shaking back and forth.
I do remember seeing a GIF on online, and they had stabilized the camera,
Right.
so all you saw was them just doing this
Right,
instead of the camera shaking, make it look like they're running faster. It was one of the funnier things I think I've ever seen.
but I did like the special effects.
Well, actually, talking about bringing him in, I'd like to see transitioning over to just slightly in Gotham. I'd like to see them bring Adam West into it somehow. I think that'd be hilarious.
Well, they brought him over in Family Guy.
Yeah,
As
No, but I'm
Mayor
saying, but-
Adam West.
But I'd
Mayor
like to.
Adam
I'd
West.
like to see him, like, even if he's in the background, like a Stanley in a Marvel movie. I'd
Yeah,
like
ju-
to see just Adam West somewhere
Oh yeah, that'd be
selling,
great.
selling falafel on the corner. I mean, something. But I
Yeah.
digress.
Would you like a falafel?
So I was gonna say, I guess going back to Flash, we had they showed the first villain. We had Weather Wizard,
Yep.
who was
But
also
they didn't call him Weather Wizard.
no, they didn't. And I mean, that's kind of something they've been doing with CW anyway, where like in Arrow, particularly like he's Arrow, he's not Green Arrow, and Canary is Canary, not Black Canary.
Right.
And a lot of the other villains they don't handle, they don't use the same names necessarily, or it's a variation on that. So
Arrow to me
that and
is-
it's the wrong brother too,
you're
isn't
right.
it? I remember
it
seeing
is,
that
yeah.
it's the wrong of
It
the
is.
two brothers. It was the other brother that was the one
Right.
that actually
Right.
gained the powers.
I would think that if you're going to bring a villain into the Flash, that you wouldn't come right out with the Weather Wizard right away. What's actually more, I guess logical is the Pied Piper or perhaps, well, maybe not the Mirror Master because that's manipulating mirrors and
Yeah.
things like that. But it's not Smallville right off the bat.
Yeah.
Where a spaceship comes in from. It
Yeah.
doesn't ask you to separate yourself from what's the word I'm looking for here? Suspension of belief.
Oh, suspension
Right.
of disbelief. Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't ask you to do that. It shouldn't ask, in my opinion, it shouldn't ask you to do that right off the bat. It should bring you into that,
Yeah.
right? So I could understand how there's this lightning accident and it hits these chemicals, and yes, it does something. Now, granted, if that is not suspension of belief enough,
Yeah.
I don't know what is. But to keep adding on to it, here's this guy that could suddenly create tornadoes indoors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hurricanes.
Just
thunderstorms,
because
yeah.
this particle accelerator we know why the Flash came to be.
Yeah.
Because he was doused with chemicals that were then energized by
Lightning.
this lightning. But they showed no origin story for this weather wizard, other than his plane getting hit.
Plane getting hit, but they sort of explain it a little bit more when he's talking to the doctor when they're at Star Labs, and they're like, there was this like dimensional tear because of the particle accelerator.
Dark matter.
Yeah, it's like something like that, and that's what powered this storm that created that lightning bolt, and then there was that pulse that came out of the explosion. And so it wasn't necessarily the lightning bolt and the chemicals, it was whatever this energy from, I guess, wherever through the speed force,
right?
I guess, that gave him the powers that way. And they touch on it a little bit, they don't go too in depth. And they're like, well, there's all these other people that have been affected too, to like set up the other villains.
Right.
Which they'll I'm hoping, but they'll probably get into a little bit more as the series goes on.
Yeah, and I know the previews they've shown like Captain Cold already.
Right. Right.
Easter eggs in the actual show. They showed a cage that had the name Grodd on it.
Yeah, Gorilla
I
Grodd.
saw
For
that,
Gorilla
yeah.
Grodd.
Which I'm going to be excited to see how if they actually go that way. If they actually do it, I'd like to see how. they're
I'm
gonna
sure
do
they
it.
will eventually.
CGI. I mean, how do you do a
Well,
gorilla?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
also,
they
how
could.
do you do a gorilla that's 9 feet tall that stands on its hind legs and is
And
technically
has an
Brazilian?
IQ of 250.
Say, and
Yeah.
he's still slightly Brazilian,
Right.
just slightly. But
But what if you
for
have
our
a
first
banana?
episode, I like Spider said, it's promising. I think.
I liked it. Don't get me wrong. Despite the incongruities and the
Yeah.
deviations, I liked it.
And I guess the other thing with the having Weather Wizard right off the bat again, I guess going back to that, was with Arrow, they worked up through seasons 1 and 2 into showing people having superhuman abilities.
Right.
Like superpowers didn't exist in season 1.
Right.
And then by like season 2, you started to see a little bit of it. People are super strong, and then like by the end of the season, you straight up had people that had superpowers. Where you had
Mostly chemically induced.
mostly
though.
chemically induced, like Mirakuru. They had what
Everybody drink.
the pseudo Solomon Grundy character,
Right.
and they had Deathstroke.
I'm gonna bite my tongue on the Solomon Grundy thing until we get to Arrow.
Yeah, so they had that whole thing. So I guess with Flash, they were assuming that people had watched Arrow previously, not just getting into the new show, but having come from watching Arrow and seeing that progression of like superpowered abilities. So I guess they felt like it wasn't so much a poof, here's power suddenly.
If you did not watch Arrow, and you watched The Flash, and you saw The Flash meeting Arrow on the rooftop,
You'd had no clue.
you would have no clue.
Yeah, it seems very like
Yeah.
out there and not tied in at all.
It's
But
like suddenly, Green Arrow appears. Where'd he come from?
Yeah.
So
Was that you see Barry take off and running for? Excuse me.
Starling City,
Starting.
which is also
Excuse
supposed
me.
to be called Star City.
well, they get to that in Arrow.
They do.
Oh,
get to-
okay.
Which we're not giving away a whole lot.
Yeah, we'll get to Arrow. We'll actually do Arrow next.
Yeah, I haven't seen.
That's actually a really
like
good
I said,
segue.
I haven't seen the first episode of
Say,
the
it's a good segue because we all pretty much agree that Flash looks like it could be good. It
Right.
started off all right.
Right.
And we'll come back and talk more about Flash in the future once we get a little bit further into the series and
Absolutely.
get a better feel for where they're going with it.
But like you said, moving on to Arrow,
Yeah, moving on to Arrow. We had season 3 premiere of Arrow on Wednesday night.
which I was absolutely jacked for.
Yeah, I was really excited for it.
P-Chan, who was also my roommate, he told me that he had watched season 1. I was like, kind of, it's the CW.
You have failed this city.
Again, like Spider said about the Flash, I've never really read too many Green Arrow comics. I've read a couple, but I've mainly seen them in animation. So I was like, I'll give it a shot, and then I binge watched both seasons in a matter of like 2 weeks. Not literally.
Yeah,
it's
I was gonna
like
say, it's a
40
lot.
It's 46 episodes.
But
It's
without
Yeah.
having the comics background of
right.
right. Okay.
With just mainly just animation
Okay.
background.
See,
All the
I
DC
had that background. And
The comic background,
this is
yeah.
why I don't consider Arrow to be to me, it's just entertainment. It's not.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
not
glad he actually said that because most purists would sit here and just do nothing but bash it and say, how terrible it is because it's not even close to the original. But yes, but it's still entertaining.
right.
That's
And-
what it's supposed to be first and foremost.
And you know me, we've had this discussion when we've talked about Marvel movies and stuff like that, like Guardians of the Galaxy, because I'm a Marvel guy. I'm not a DC guy. So all the things in the Marvel movies and Marvel,
Hence the glass.
hence the X-Men, but that bother me because I'm a comic purist when it comes to that. not having read the DC comics, I guess lets me enjoy these more than I would enjoy like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I won't watch.
Off topic. What did you think of the Amazing Spider-Man 2?
I thought it was the best portrayal of Spider-Man so far in the comics. I felt like it's the first time they captured him, cracking jokes and being actually like Spider-Man. I still don't like Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker.
Amen to that.
And Electro was a little weird too. I know they were going more for the Ultimate comic version of him than the traditional 616 version, but it still felt off to me.
I
it was a little too
five-pointed
forced.
lightning bolt mask. I missed the
the
green and the yellow. Yeah, I missed all that.
It's Ultimate Universe, and they wanted it to feel, I guess, less comic booky, even though it's a comic book movie.
Right.
So they
I watched it last night. It was I had mixed feelings about it.
Yeah. But it was better than the first one.
I like Dane DeHaan as Harry Osborn.
He was all right. The way they did the Goblin was a little weird, though.
Yeah, I agree.
And again, I think they were trying to go more Ultimate with that.
Anyway, back to
Anyway,
sorry about that.
But we digest. No,
we have failed this conversation.
We really a little bit. No, but again, spoilers alert. I guess a little bit because it was the premiere of season 3. But like we said, it more or less kind of. I'm trying to think of how to word this without coming off like an ass.
Well, the episode was called The Calm. Well, we can start there.
Calm?
The first episode of season 3 was called The Calm. And I believe that's referencing to basically a short period of calm that happened between the events of the end of season 2 and the beginning of season 3. Because what happens in the episode itself is not calm. It's several months. I'm not sure exactly how long.
I think they said 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
And they actually make the comment, the vigilante, the hood, is crime is down and this, the city's safer, but yet people are still moving out. No one wants to live here, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, they've had two major terrorist attacks within, a year and a half span?
Right.
I would think that's because no one wants to live near Laurel.
Naptime and I were having a discussion earlier about who is the most annoying character on this show.
Sarah. Absolutely Sarah Lance.
Mine is Thea.
Thea's pretty bad, too.
I cannot deal with her. I'm sorry.
Well, on the plus side, you don't really... Right now, she's not there.
She's a serious whiner.
She is a serious whiner. But so we go back to Starling City, and we see how things have kind of calmed down. Diggle's ex-wife is pregnant.
Ex-wife /
girlfriend, whatever.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
You find that out in season.
No, I'm cool with that. I'm
Okay.
cool. He was. Oh, never mind. It was his brother who was killed.
Brother was killed, and then he was interested in the brother's ex-wife. But now he's back with his ex-wife.
Who's a spy.
She's in the military. Yeah.
She works for.
They rescued her from Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's been working for Argus with Amanda Waller.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Amanda Waller. Oh, I love her.
I love Amanda Waller more so in the comics than I do in the show.
I like
because
fat Amanda Waller.
I like fat Amanda Waller because
being voiced by CC Pounder.
Yes.
It's perfect. You can't beat it.
Yeah, that was so great.
Yeah.
But so we see the calm. Diggle's about to be a dad. Oliver's kind of getting his life together a little bit, it seems, and
he's getting his life together to be just the Arrow, because you find out later in the episode that he actually asks Felicity Smoke on a date. And
well, they've been leading up to that in season 2.
There you go, fanboys and fangirls. You finally get your Olicity date.
But then it all goes to hell.
Say
an RPG comes through the window.
I couldn't have asked for anything more out of that though, because I didn't want you don't see that being a successful relationship at any point. She fawns over him, and he basically kind of ignores her for most of it, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, she's been here the whole time. No.
She's only one of the hottest women I've ever seen. Why, I'm just going to look over top of her.
I'm going to look at the girl with the oversized mouth and the girl with the butt chin. And
Can we talk about Sarah Lance's ugly mouth thing that she's got going on, please? It annoys me.
Her face is like almost anime. It just goes straight down into a point.
Okay, so here's the thing that gets me, and they do this in shows all the time. The pilot episode of Arrow, you see Ollie and Sarah on the boat together, and they recast the girl who plays Sarah into I don't even remember the character's name or the actress's name off the top of my head. Katie Lotz or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we're supposed to believe that Sarah is like the hotter younger sister of Laurel.
Right.
And you look at the two of them together and you're like, no.
Not even
No.
close.
Not even
No.
after a fifth.
No. And it's like, I can't believe that at all. And she's such an annoying character. Which is why the end of that episode was so gratifying.
Which we're not going to ruin for him.
Yeah, we're not
You
going
know
to...
what? It's okay.
Because Sarah Lance isn't Black Canary in the comics anyway. It's
Right.
Laurel.
Right. Well, it's Dinah.
Dinah.
And that's the whole thing that bothers me is
The mom is
mother
Dinah.
It's like
Well, Laurel, I think in the show, Laurel's middle name is Dinah. It's like Laurel Dinah Lance.
right,
Yeah.
but Larry was Black Canary's husband,
Not her
not her
father. That, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
He
so
was
they have-
killed. He was killed protecting Black Canary from a villain on Earth 2, and then the Justice League invited her to come over to Earth 1.
Okay.
And she did, and thus began her new life as Black Canary in the Justice League. But she was married to Larry Lance, who was a detective.
Yeah.
He was a private detective. He wasn't on the police force. He was a private detective, and he gets murdered. And so she comes over, and now suddenly, let me see if I can figure out this family relationship. Suddenly, he is her father. The mother's named Dinah.
Yeah.
And his name is actually Quentin.
Yeah.
Yeah, Quentin Lance.
Quentin Larry Lance. Remember, you're
Yeah.
under arrest. Quentin Larry Lance, you're under arrest. Now, what was the purpose of that?
I guess just to mention the characters,
Yeah.
name.
But no, I agree with you about Sarah. The only person who kind of comes close to being that annoying to me is, and I don't know if something happens to her by the end of season 2, but her friend Sin.
No,
You don't see Sin in season 3 yet.
Okay, I'm very happy to hear that.
But it's only been one episode, so you
only-
never
okay.
know. She might show back up because she's also friends with Roy,
Right.
who
true.
becomes...
Well, Sin will definitely show back up because of what happened to Sarah at the end of episode 1, season
Yeah.
3. We're all we're all guessing it's Malcolm Merlin.
yeah.
That's our guess because we all know at the end of season 2, Thea.
He is not to
Right.
the end.
She's,
of-
no, that's
Oh,
okay. I
you're-
know she probably
Thea-
goes to goes to her father. Embraces that she's his kid.
No, not exactly. Like, she finds
chest.
she finds out that it's her dad. She's like, why have you not been here? Blah blah blah. Like the whole daddy issues thing, and he's like, "Well, come with me. We'll make things right now." And she's like, "No, I don't want to have anything to do with you." Like, yeah,
How did so many League of Assassin members end up in Starling City?
yeah.
It's like everybody who's everybody is in Starling
For
City.
whatever reason, it's super important.
Let's say they all got, paid leave all at the same time. Apparently.
Yeah, apparently. Wow.
It's like Ra's al Ghul sitting around going, "Where is everybody?"
Oh, he's supposed to show up this season.
And have you ever heard his name pronounced Raz?
No, it's Ra's al
Rage.
Ghul.
Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, it's always been Ra's al Ghul, which is why, like, when Batman Begins bothered me so much, because they're like, Ra's al Ghul. It's not Ra's al Ghul.
Right.
He's Ra's al Ghul.
But that's not how they pronounce it in Arrow.
No, they
Remember
don't.
when Moira came and told Malcolm Merlin, "You're
Yeah.
not going to bother me anymore."
Yeah.
I contacted Ra's al Ghul. I'm going, Ra's.
Yeah, I don't know why they
She work
changed
at the beauty parlor.
ROZ. Yeah. Well, it's RA''S.
Yeah.
He belongs to Ra. Like,
Ra,
so he's
Ra.
Raz.
Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
I get
He's
it. Okay.
Ra's al Ghul, whatever an al Ghul is.
I get it.
Anyway,
Moving on.
Yeah, we're moving on. So I mean, we get the new Vertigo because they have to go back to that again for whatever reason.
Which is basically
The
Scarecrow's
Scarecrow
nest.
fear toxin. Yeah.
Yeah.
You will see your worst fear, which is for Arrow. It's Oliver Queen. So you get to watch Oliver Queen and Arrow fight
for about a half a second,
for a half a second himself.
and then he hulks out of it, and
But when we were talking before about how it's supposed to be Star City, not Starling City, we get that with the introduction of Ray Palmer,
yeah,
who, for those of you who aren't, is the superhero, the Atom.
The Atom. That's correct.
And
The
who's
second
played,
Atom.
the
It's
second
actually-
Atom.
The second
Okay.
Atom. First
So-
one was Al Pratt. He was a little short guy that he fought in the Justice Society.
Okay.
He's a little wrestler
It's
guy.
played by a character making his second superhero role.
Brandon Ruth. Yeah,
Brandon Ruth, who honestly Ralph,
whatever
whatever
it
it
is.
I didn't think he was that bad as Superman.
He
Yeah,
was
I
he was a
didn't think it was
victim
that
of he was a victim of bad writing and bad production.
Right.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
he could have been a great Superman. Like, even though I liked Henry Cavill, I think Brandon Routh was just fine.
He kind of had the Superman look to him, but
a bit. Yeah,
you know, being in Scott Pilgrim didn't.
The
help him
sad
much
part is
either.
that all of them have to live up to Dean Cain.
Right.
That's where the benchmark really is, right?
The Chinese Superman. That's.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
most
we
incredible.
we get Brandon Routh as Ray Palmer, who may or may not become the Atom during the course of the show, because he comes to Starling City to make a bid for Queen Consolidated. After everything that happens, where you find out the woman that was in charge,
Isabel, yeah. What happened to her?
she was a member of the League of Assassins and was working
Summer
with
Glau?
Summer Glau, yeah, was
That's what
work.
I'm saying.
She was
Who was not a member of the League of Assassins.
she was working with or no, she wasn't. I'm sorry, wasn't a member of the League of Assassins. She was trained by Deathstroke. She was Deathstroke's apprentice,
Right.
basically.
And she
Because
got
you know
screwed over-
Deathstroke's a Sith Lord.
apparently. Well,
Yeah.
no, Brother Blood is
Yeah,
the Sith Lord. Deathstroke is the Sith Master. So
Yeah.
it's 6 1 half
Either
dozen
or.
with the other.
No, I take it that when you refer to Brother Blood, you're still
Sebastian
he's still
Sebastian Blood.
he's still
Sebastian
around?
Blood.
Because
No.
remember,
No.
I've only gotten as far as Anthony Ivo, who is also very much out of place in that series. That is
Professor
not what
Ivo.
he's-
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
You know, I've only gotten to the point where Deathstroke cuts his arm off
okay.
in the ship.
So yeah, you're
Right, so
you're
I'm
a
like
bit out.
halfway through, right?
Yeah.
And I don't care about the spoilers. That doesn't bother me. The whole thing with Anthony Ivo is, you know, he was a mad scientist. He was scared of dying, so he created artificial bodies in which to put his
Consciousness.
consciousness. One of them being, of course, a Mazo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The other being, which is funny because that's the name of a ship on Arrow.
yeah.
That made me
You know.
giggle a little bit.
Yeah, and then there's the Red Tornado. So, you know, Ivo being on Arrow, it's like, you know, why did you write him in there? It just doesn't make sense.
Just
you
they're
know?
just kind of throwing random DC characters at it
Exactly.
and seeing what sticks and what doesn't. I
That's
guess.
kind of what's entertaining to me about it is,
Yeah.
you know, as a old man. You
Yeah.
know, I like seeing these names and I like hearing these, you know, these
It's like Oliver calling Thea Speedy,
Speedy, right?
which is
Bugs the hell out of me because Roy should be Speedy in this aspect.
but instead
Right.
he'll be Red Arrow or even I think
Arsenal.
Arsenal.
So
Yeah,
he-
Arsenal. They
You
have
Arsenal later. But
yeah. That's like the progression: Speedy, Red Arrow,
But
Arsenal.
I'm curious whether they'll do an Arrow what they did in the comics with him. And if you don't know,
Yeah,
the only injection that Roy Harper got in the actual comics was one he gave himself.
yeah.
It wasn't, you know, it wasn't vertigo. It was heroin.
Oh, Mirakuru. Yeah,
You know, so
yeah, well, in the show is Mirakuru.
right, but the
Yeah.
classic comic book cover shows Green Lantern and Green Arrow busting into this door where Speedy's got a needle
In his
hanging out
arm.
of his arm, and he says, Green Arrow is standing there with a shocked look on his face, and Green Lantern is saying, "Oh my God, your ward is a heroin addict, or he's an addict, a drug addict."
but I feel like what they took the route for that they took is with Thea being the drug addict and Oliver dealing with all the stuff with her being on drugs instead of doing it with the sidekick instead.
Right.
But I mean, they're gonna take liberties no matter what.
Honestly, I think they probably did it that way too, just to see if the character of Roy would stick, because they still weren't really sure how long this show was going to be around.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's possible. So and let's face it, the guy who plays Roy is kind of a terrible actor.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He is. But you know what's interesting about just a side note about Mirakuru?
Oh, we're getting the wrap it up symbol actually.
Oh, okay.
But we still have Gotham to talk about.
Well, I think Gotham might have to wait because that's
Well, we
its
can-
own separate argument for me.
Okay, yeah, I can kind of agree with you on that one because I've watched 2 episodes and have no desire to watch anymore.
I'm not very happy. So that is going to be a good 25-30 minute, pardon the language, bitch
You're not
fest.
happy with Gotham?
Not really.
We should talk.
We'll get
Yeah,
into
we'll
that
we'll do a part 2 with that one. We'll get back to you with Gotham,
next week on Previously on Gotham.
and then well, I mean we'll come back. We can come back in a couple weeks with the other one as Constantine premieres the 24th,
Oh,
I
I can't
believe,
wait for that one.
on ABC. Not sure how ABC is going to do that, but we'll see.
You know the big thing with Constantine, just to close that, they're not letting him smoke.
What?
Seriously?
Seriously.
You never see John Constantine without a cigarette.
A guy who's dying of lung cancer and has made a deal with the devil is not allowed to be shown smoking.
Well, we'll get to rants about that one.
Real quick, how about the devil from Constantine being the new Count Vertigo?
Yeah?
You gotta love 6 Ways to Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. All right.
How many minutes do we have?
I think we're going to go ahead and just call this quits. So
For this one.
Thank you for joining us for our first week on Previously On.
Previously on.
I'm the captain.
I'm Spider.
I'm Naptime.
See y'all next week.